Hi, my name is VVinrar,
And my name is Shakarez.
and today we're introducing a new video series, the Rework Forge.
In each episode, we will be reviewing a problematic champion in the current metagame and presenting rework solutions to make the champion more viable in competitive play. The topic of our first episode is
Skarner, the Crystal Vanguard.
Skarner was hit pretty hard in Season 3 of the general rework, in addition to nerfs on his skill cooldowns. The biggest nerf to Skarner was the recent bug fix that targets would no longer be ulted if the target flashed while he was casting.
this, compounded with a cooldown increase and a mana cost increase,
Put the nail in the coffin for Season 2 Skarner and pushed him out of the current metagame.
Additionally, new junglers such as Volibear just outperform Skarner in every aspect in Season 3. Volibear is much tankier, his flip is a slightly weaker version of Skarner's ultimate with a much lower cooldown, while his movement speed boost is faster and more reliable than Skarner's W, in addition to greater damage output through his own W and R skills. Other junglers who are considered superior to Skarner and rely on movement speed initiates include Hecarim, Nocturne, and Trundle. Without a leash, it currently takes Skarner 3 minutes and 50 seconds to reach level 4, about 20 to 30 seconds slower than top tier junglers, and a tiny bit slower even than second tier junglers. This means that Skarner has fallen out of favor and is rarely picked today.
Our goal today is to present a set of balance changes to help make Skarner viable in today's metagame. The objective is relatively simple. We want to restore Skarner to a Season 2 glory without quite overbuffing him. To do this, we have to increase its early game clear potential and ability scaling to be on par with common jungle picks, while adding depth to the champion. But we have to make sure Skarner doesn't become too powerful in the mid game with his ability buffs.
Skarner's passive Energize is pretty good by itself. The most recent scaling attack speed buff per level now lets him use his passive to a greater extent, but it's still not enough. There aren't too many good attack speed items that Skarner can use, which means that he is basically limited in damage output by cooldown reduction. However, since Skarner will usually grab CDR as a key stat, we don't think any changes are needed to Energize, since it is reliant on his other skills and auto attacks.
Crystal Slash is the skill that makes Skarner Skarner. It's his bread and butter damage and crowd control lockdown skill, but the problem here is that in Season 2, Skarner was a brick wall that he had to focus down because Crystal Slash made it so you couldn't walk past him. Unfortunately, the permaslow from Crystal Slash has been indirectly nerfed with the addition of Iceborne Gauntlet. Now, any melee champion with a spammable skill such as Hecarim can easily slow just like Skarner with basic itemization. So to help differentiate Skarner from other champions, we propose that Crystal Slash be slow on the first usage, not the second, and have its slow percentage reduced slightly to compensate. However, Skarner currently is charged up with Crystal Energy every time he hits an enemy with Crystal Slash, but we want to use this as a charge fill buff all of the skills to add depth to the champion, and higher skill ceiling to Skarner. So if Skarner hits someone on the second slash when he's charged with Crystal Energy, the slow amount from Crystal Slash will be increased by 50%. This will help to increase Skarner's lockdown power over other champions.
Skarner's W, Crystalline Exoskeleton, is his primary initiation tool, but it became overshadowed by other champions. For example, Hecarim gains 25 to 75 movement speed over 3 seconds, while Volibear gained 50% for 4 seconds. Right now, Crystalline Exoskeleton has inherent risk because Skarner loses his movement speed buff when he loses his shield, so it's neither as fast nor as reliable as these other two initiators. To bring him up to par, we want to do two things. The first would be not losing his movement speed buff when his shield gets destroyed, so meaning he would still lose the attack speed buff, but not the movement speed. That would be present for 6 seconds. The second possible change would be to give him a percentage resistance to slows, similar to the Relentless Defensive Mastery. This would allow Skarner to close in on his target without being kited too hard. He usually gets a Tenacity item and Tenacious from the defensive masteries, so the duration would also be reduced. And finally, if Skarner is charged with Crystal Energy, we want the movement speed bonus to be present for a longer duration, say 2 extra seconds.
Now onto Skarner's E skill, Fracture. Simply put, it doesn't heal enough. There's no point in getting Fracture right now because, despite its strong AP ratio, the base heal and damage is very low. Skarner's shield mitigates more damage and his Q does more damage to Fracture, while a 10-second cooldown prevents spammable use for damage and heals. It doesn't provide a whole lot of help in killing champions, but at the same time, the heal isn't strong enough to warrant skilling in the jungle. It's basically a redundant skill that doesn't add anything to Skarner's kit. And even with Skarner's low pro guide, it's recommended not to put a point in Fracture until level 13. So to make Fracture relevant, we want to make it so Crystal Energy Charge will place a small armor and MR debuff on any target's hit, and deal an additional percentage of the enemy's max health and damage.
Skarner's ultimate, Impale, is what makes him unique as a champion able to lock down a carry. It's a great skill, but unfortunately it's also dependent on Skarner reaching his enemy with his Crystalline Exoskeleton. We can't revert the bug fix on long-range Skarner grabs, but what we can do is give him a small dash, similar to Udyr's bear stance when he wants to grab a priority target. This would bring him into viability without making him extremely overpowered when going for the ultimate.
Basically, these changes would help to bring Skarner back into viability because they'll shore up all of his current weaknesses and add depth to his basic skills. In the early game, a faster jungle clear will help Skarner to keep on pace with other junglers, while allowing him to scale into mid-game and stay relevant as an immovable CC bot during teamfights. Meanwhile, the movement speed change in Crystalline Exoskeleton will allow Skarner to initiate as well as top tier movement speed based junglers right now.
In the last season, Skarner was more of a resistance stacking tank, but that doesn't favor the current metagame. The goal of these changes is to push Skarner into more of a utility tank role, with greater initiation, so that he can have a place among current popular junglers. The Crystal Energy buff on his E will provide a slightly faster jungle clear, while changes to his Q and W will shore up Skarner's lockdown power in teamfights. Now, these changes are all our theoretical recommendations and aren't perfect, but if implemented, they would translate into a step in the right direction.
We hope you enjoyed the first episode of the Rework Forge. I'm VVinrar.
And I'm Shakarez, and we'll see you guys in our next episode. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to both this channel and VVinrar's channel. He's trying to branch out of articles to videos, and he'll be posting stuff on his channel as well. Link will be in the description.